Hello and welcome to Tank and Affy News. My name's Tom, and we're doing another book review today. Today we're looking at part of the Osprey Publishing Duel series, Cromwell versus Jagdpanzer IV, Normandy, 1944. This one's by David R. Higgins. This book came out last May, so it's a few months old, but still fairly current. I just got this copy last week. This is actually if anybody goes to my website, if you follow an Amazon link on there, I do the Amazon Associates program. So if you go to my site and click on a link and then buy anything on Amazon after following that link, I get a little finder's fee. It's usually enough to buy about one book per month. So this last month, this was the book that I purchased because I generally don't get review copies from Osprey. I haven't really pestered them for them, but maybe I'll try. But anyway, so this was the one that sort of everybody read my site who goes to Amazon. They bought me this book, which I appreciate. Now, David Higgins has written a number of these Duel series, and for those not familiar with the Duel series, they're up to, let's see, this one's number 86. So they've done quite a few. Usually they're on armored vehicles, but sometimes they're planes or ships, but I think most of them have been armored vehicles, at least half. So they've covered quite a few, and Higgins has written quite a few, at least 6 that I know of. And I have a few other ones here just to go through them. So there's King Tiger versus IS-2. It's number 37, so that was quite a bit earlier in the series. A couple that I thought were really interesting, the M48 Patton versus Centurion. What I liked about this one, Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. Not a lot of people have paid much attention to that conflict, and yet it's very interesting because you have an example of two different, a conflict with both sides using post-war Western tanks. As opposed to like one side having Soviet stuff and the other side Western stuff like in Arab-Israeli wars. Another one I really like, Panzer II versus 7TP, because again, nobody's really looked at these vehicles quite as much, and this book came in quite handy the first couple episodes of the Tanks of World War II video series I've been doing. And then he has a couple others that I only have in digital format, so I don't have physical copies, but I think it was SU-100 versus Jagdpanther, and a World War one that dealt with, I think, the Villers-Bretonneux battle between the German and British tank, one of the few tank-on-tank actions in the First World War. Anyhow, getting back to Cromwell versus Jagdpanzer IV, since that's what we're talking about today. For those familiar with the series format, there's going to be no surprises. This is the same format as all the others. And if you know Osprey books, they're generally pretty nice quality. So you can see nice reproductions, both color and black and white as far as photos. Paper quality's nice. One thing, the page count is on these usually around like 80 or 8, which is quite a bit more than like the new Vanguard books on tanks. And these are usually only priced a couple dollars more. So that's kind of nice. You get a little bit more for your money than some of the other Osprey series. This follows the standard format, introduction, so you can design and development of each vehicle. You can sort of flip through here, give you an idea of what you see. These sort of specifications, descriptions, lots of good data. So if you don't have much in your library on either of these vehicles, this will sort of give you the basics in an attractive format. It's always nice, sort of these ammunition summaries, sort of getting a little more of the nitty gritty stuff that you're not going to find so much on Wikipedia or an online source, which is nice. Sort of describing the vehicles. Let's skip ahead. Here we get more into the combatants, where he's looking specifically at the units that are using these videos that he's going to talk about in this book. And of course, we're talking 1944 in Normandy. He's looking both at some British and Polish units that were equipped with Cromwells. And then he gets into the Jagdpanzers. Some tactics, little, details on some of the commanders involved. Background on the strategic situation, which probably most people that are watching this video probably have a basic understanding of the Normandy campaign. And then combat. So the specific operations where these two vehicles faced off against each other. And sort of nice little artist rendering there. Sort of views of the different gun sites. Again, like these kind of details are nice. It's not the kind of stuff you're going to find online easily. And then the breakout, some more on the battles, and then analysis. And, his general conclusion, the Cromwell is certainly not a bad tank. Not by 1944, not like an overwhelmingly powerful one. And certainly in Normandy, particularly when we're talking more in the hedgerow part of its mobility, which is the sort of most outstanding feature of the tank, weren't able to take advantage of fully because of the terrain. A little later in the campaign, that they are able to once you get more into the breakout phase. Jagdpanzer IV, it's an interesting vehicle. It's effective, particularly when used, as you would with that type of vehicle in a defensive situation. It's got relatively good armor and firepower compared to its allied adversaries. It's got some issues. The gun, driving it can be a little bit of a challenge. I mean, I believe they call it Guderian's duck, which is a bit front heavy, and that Panzer IV chassis was a little sort of at its limits mechanically, both from the suspension and engine standpoint. But, without going too much further into it, because, you can buy the book and read it and get the analysis yourself if you really want. So, again, like I said, if you're familiar with this series, there's nothing in here that's going to be a surprise, necessarily. I mean, in terms of the format, it's exactly what you'd expect from an Osprey Duel series, which I think is a good thing, because I do like these books. For a little soft cover, it's nice as an index. Has a bibliography. You can see, I do like the very first secondary sources. He lists as John Buckley's British Armor in the Normandy Campaign. It's a book I rather enjoyed. So, it's nice to be able to see what they used in their research if you feel like going on and trying to locate some of these books yourself and read up on them, because there's some good ones. I mean, who doesn't like Ogurkowicz' Technology of Tanks? Assuming you can find a physical copy or just use a digital one like the rest of us. So that's really all I've got to say about Cromwell versus Jagdpanzer IV. If you are interested in either of these vehicles or the Normandy campaign, this is sort of an interesting little snapshot into these two specific vehicles. And obviously, the only thing I would say, not critical, but these vehicles are not, this particular matchup is not like the most important of the campaign. The British forces are using lots of things other than Cromwell's. Sherman's, there's a fair number of Churchill's and other things, and the Germans are using a lot of different stuff. This is, some of the other things in the Duel series, they're looking at vehicles that really are sort of key ones in that particular theater of operations. This one, it's a little more specific. You don't naturally go, oh, the Cromwell, well, Jagdpanzer IV is its big foe, but it's still interesting, it's still worthwhile. So that wraps it up, I think. So I will provide a link to the Amazon listing in the description, and if you do decide to buy the book, if you go through that link, then I make a couple pennies on the transaction, which allows me to get more books and do more reviews. So thank you very much, and we will catch you on the next one.